All right, well, welcome everyone. As the off season begins, it's still board season around here, and myself and our special guest today, our treasurer Jeff Kidd, are here to talk a lot about finances, and I've got some housekeeping items at the end as well. So today's message, really at its core, is a financial update. We'll have a bit of a comment on our upcoming annual general meeting, some registration intentions we'd like to learn from the population, as well as a bit of a comment on 3-on-3 jersey recovery, which I'll explain near the end of the call. So as far as why the focus on finances, Jeff, who you're about to hear from, myself, others, we pay attention to the news too. It doesn't feel great when you read about the kind of things you see on the screen there, as far as that poor soccer team where that coach ran away with a bunch of money, that story out in Lloydminster. There was another recent one about a cricket situation. All of us are volunteers and stewards of the finances of this organization, and we take our responsibilities very seriously, and we wanted to offer some transparency into the process for all of you, because I'm sure when you're seeing these same news stories, you might be wondering, geez, I hope there's nothing like that going on in my organization that my athlete participates in. So that's really the focus of today's call. I am ecstatic to welcome our guest. Jeff Kidd joined our executive this season as our treasurer. He's been doing a bang-up job. Tyler Prosiak, who many of you know, did a great job previously, and he's here today. And Jeff, I'm going to tee up with a few questions. Let's start kind of with the big lumpy stuff. So can you talk us through, what are our top 3 sources of revenue as an organization?
Hey folks, my name's Jeff. I've met quite a few people this year, and to those who I've yet to meet, can't wait. Just a little going back, Gord, I think about, of all the things that could go wrong with our association, with our sport, and with our players, a financial indiscretion is probably the second worst thing. I think about the loss of credibility, the loss of trust, and it would just be a really sad day for Edmonton Lynette. Anyway, just our top 3 sources of revenue this year has been our registration fees, $316,000, definitely over the plan, but it does incorporate some of the camps we did, the 3-on-3. Our Silver Ring did fantastic at $56,000, and we're showing our net raffle revenue on the revenue section of our profit and loss, and that's $21,000. Roughly $21,000. So sitting at $418,000 for revenue for the year.
Sounds good. Obviously, lots of inputs, certainly in youth sport, lots of outputs. So can you talk us through some of the lumpier expenses, our top 5?
Sure. And I don't have a finance background. Definitely, used to budgets and stuff at work. But one of the real pressures we had at the beginning of the season was the ice allocation from the city. So we were allocated 8% more ice from the city than we expected, which was initially, quite a pressure. So you'll see that ice costs are by far our biggest expense at $284,000. This year, we had earmarked a budget of $16,000 for jersey replacements. Now, that's offset by a sponsor that we got. That's fantastic, Richie and the team who worked with that. Distilled Diesel, can't thank you enough. Amazing. So that fully replaced the U14 and a portion of the U19 jerseys that weren't done last year. Our Silver Ring costs, we got really crisp on understanding this year what we were spending to hold that tournament, and they were at $25,000. And then player goalie development, we've really close to plan on what we were planning on spending. The officiating is basically our cost from BGL, so our total expense is $460,000.
Hey, well, you mentioned you don't have a financial background. You're doing an amazing job, Jeff, with the ledger matching the bank accounts, the balance sheet matching, all those good things. And I am a numbers guy to the point that I know when I take 460 and what the number I saw previously, it comes up as a loss. So we are reporting a loss this year, but can you talk us through what you decided to do with the $80,000 in casino revenue that many of the volunteers listening to this call helped us hold last summer?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our plan this year was to earn $37,500 in casino revenue. So that was a fairly substantial chunk of our operating income. But when we looked at where we're at on May 1st of this fiscal year, we had roughly $169,000 of what we would consider unreserved equity. So it's a slush fund. It's money that we have there for a rainy day. The thought process was let's not recognize that income from casino that we completed this year, but actually defer it to next season. So it's a bit of basically shows up as a loss for this year's profit and loss report. But what that does for us is it ensures that this year coming up is $40,000 of revenue for our casino. And then the following year, 2026, when we hope to get another casino, we already have our revenue. So we can do our budgeting in 2026 based off money that we know we have. It shows up as a liability on our balance sheet. That's not a bad thing. That's showing that we're being planful and intentional. What we're doing with this surplus money when we're going to spend it. And it brings down that line on the balance sheet that is this unreserved equity.
Well, sounds good. And just to confirm, we get a casino every 2 years. It's a big revenue item, as many of you know, with casinos. Brought in just over $80,000 this year, and historically we spread it out over 2 years. We're still doing that. It's just going to start next year, and that's all with Jeff's good intention of just making sure we're setting up the Federation for financial success, not only now but in the future. Jeff, I'm going to pass the call back to you for some details, and certainly we also wanted to share, if there's anyone listening who is an accountant and says, wait a sec, I have some ideas, please reach out. We always enjoy help. Jeff will talk a bit about the future of the finances, but we always look for that in our membership if that happens to be you. So Jeff, back to you for some further details on the money situation.
Sure. And, I think part of that reason to defer some of that income and reduce the amount of unreserved equity, unrestricted equity that we have was in alignment with the city investment operating grant. So, in all places, it seems that we're, we could interact with. There's pressures. There's more details required. One of them is with the city. So, reading between the lines, it's more of a challenge to receive the grant money from the city. One of those being they don't want to see too much unrestricted equity. So we're making sure that, we're being deliberate in our approach as it relates to those funds that we have and when we're going to spend them. One of the other things that we're being very mindful of is we're going to be very intentional on our profit and loss, how we report our expenses and how we report our income. So there's two lines. And for example, just with the city operating grant, once our expenses balloon over $500,000, we will become ineligible as a society to apply for these funds. So one of the things that we're doing is just being really deliberate in looking the profit and the loss is how does this apply to our core business, our core service level offering, in alignment with our vision and values, that we're displaying or we're reporting these expenses and this income correctly. So definitely registration is income, but we want to make sure that we're not, let's say, for example, the cost of sending money to ERC for transfers, for example. We don't want to show that as an expense. We want to show that as a reduction of our income. So we're going to keep, our income in line with what our true income is, and our expenses in line with what our core business is.
Yeah, so that grant is an important one for us, and Karen Garlitos would know the exact number. I believe something like 40% of organizations no longer receive the grant as of a lot of these changes. So we are fortunate, thanks to Karen, thanks to people like Jeff, to still receive. It didn't quite make that top 3 of revenue. I believe it was around 17,000 and change, but it is an important number for us that we would have to replace if we lost it. So this is important. Jeff, please continue. More details.
Yeah, and the other portion of that city operating grant is they just want to see, good bookkeeping. They want to see that people the societies are really just doing their best to be visible and just honest with the funds and transparent. Karen on that CIOG application put a lot of work. So, thanks Karen for that, because it's a huge amount of money. And I don't think people recognize the amount of work people within our board do behind the scenes. So just wanted to acknowledge that. So kind of keeping in mind, we read those articles. It's embarrassing, for the association. It's hard for the families who are affected. It's incumbent upon us as a board to be reviewing the finances every month. So monthly reports to the board include an income statement or a profit and loss statement, with comparison to two things. The first thing is the budget, which we voted on. I think it was in May, June. We accepted the budget, and we're going to see how we perform versus the prior year actuals. So that's a running year to date. That's the snip on the top right. We just are testing how are we doing versus our plan. The second point piece that's in part of the report is the balance sheet, and we're not doing the true accrual method of accounting, but what we are doing is we're doing accruals of significant expenses or obligations. So, for example, on the balance sheet, we'll see our obligation to the city of Edmonton for that money of the contract that we signed with them. The third thing that we're going to see on the report is the bank statements. So this is the absolute truth from Service, where we have our accounts, and it shows all of the transactions from the prior board meeting to the current board meeting. And one of the real key things that the board members have the accountability to check is that the totals in the bank statements match our ledger. So on our ledger, for example, on our balance sheet, we show our casino account and we show our general account. And if there's any discrepancy between those two items, there needs to be a bank reconciliation. There very well could be a good reason for it. For example, a check for the month of March. We've written that check, we've given it to the city, they haven't cashed it yet, or they've cashed it and it hasn't yet popped up in our ledger. So there could be a reasonable explanation for it, but if there is any difference whatsoever, there needs to be a bank reconciliation that shows why.
Excellent, Jeff. Well, hey, transparency, accountability, you are a steward of that for us. You've been fantastic as our treasurer and continuing on into next season. So thank you. For those listening, Jeff will at times message our little executive WhatsApp chat if there's a big transaction he just wants full disclosure that we all see it. Myself, Jeff, Dustin, our first vice president, we are the signees on the accounts, and we all do our best to keep an eye on things so that it's not all just Jeff's burden. We're here to bear that along with him, even though he absolutely is doing the heavy lifting on the day-to-days of the finances. So hopefully this was valuable, insightful, and if anything, just somewhat comforting that the organization you choose to put your athletes in is doing it. I hope you feel a good job with the transparency on the financials. If this is something you would like to engage with further, I'd love to let you know that our annual general meeting is scheduled for May 8th at 6:30 p.m. There will be an official announcement coming out in the near future. We are ecstatic to share that the Edmonton Space and Science Center, there's some amazing people there, some of which are in our Ringette community, and they were working with some new technology in their IMAX theater. So they're actually going to let us host the AGM gratis. Thank you again, Edmonton Space Science Center, that evening. Although we will be stressing it is just for the AGM. The exhibits are not going to be open. It's closed at that time of night. So please don't bring your children thinking they can run around and explore all the science experiments. It'll just be for the AGM. They're welcome to join the AGM, but they will be in the IMAX theater. That's the only place that will be open for us that evening. Usually takes us about a couple hours, and we've already heard from some amazing people interested in putting their name forward for certain positions on the board, key executive positions. We always like to put the call out if there is an interest from you to get involved in this board to help ensure the stability of this organization and its operations. Please reach out to someone like myself, someone like Karen Garlitos, anyone on the board if you just want to learn more and see how you might help. It's just so important that we have a strong board. Year-end surveys, that's something else you should see in the near future. Historically, we would send out the coach feedback survey, very important to coaches. It is a fairly lengthy survey, and we would get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% response rates, which is fair. It was a long survey. And then at the very end, we would often ask a question, hey, what are your registration intentions for next year? What we're doing this year is we're kind of flipping the script, and we're going to give the option on the coaches survey because we desperately would love to have 100% completion of the first few questions on, could you help us understand your registration intentions? And it could be absolutely can't wait to come back. No, we're moving to Newfoundland, or it could just be unsure, and that's okay. At this time of year, especially as athletes begin to get older and other commitments start to surface, we know that's out there. We're just trying to plan for next year, and having a sense of our population at each age level greatly helps us with the planning. We'd really like to take this in from you. So you'll see us send out the survey. We'd love 100% completion on that first portion. We'd obviously love 100% completion on the rest of the survey, which you'll have the option to continue on to the coaches have portion of the survey. But at a minimum, we just love those first few questions on registration intentions. And last but not least, bit of a side project, back to the finances, just trying to figure out a way to save some money around here. Whether it's the pennies for the younger athletes or the heavy old jerseys we were asking our 16 and 19 athletes to use for tryouts, we've got a thought around, could we start collecting old 3-on-3 jerseys? Many of you listening either have or are about to, or both, participate in those 3-on-3 competitions, and you get a jersey with it, and it's kind of a bright numbered jersey that's kind of light, which makes it perfect for evaluations. So I just wanted to put the call out, if you're a parent and you're like, I've got 4 3-on-3 jerseys sitting in my garage, you want to take those in, give them a wash and use them for evals, that would be great. Please reach out to me. We'll also try to collect, or give the option to collect, I should say, at the end of this year's 3-on-3. We need a fairly large number to fully reinstate our evaluations inventory, but this could be a way to do so at a cost neutral way. And they are your jerseys, so this is a donation. Although most parents I've talked to, these things are sitting in boxes collecting dust. So that's the call out. Message me if you hear this and said, Gord, I got some jerseys for you, and look for some communications in the future. It might even lead into evaluations. Even if it doesn't happen this year, it could happen in future seasons. So that's all we've got for today. As always, thank you for listening. There's my email. Jeff's is treasurer@edmontonringette.com. If something about the financial update jumped out at you. And then hope to see as many of you possible at our annual general meeting on May the 8th. Thanks again. Have a great rest of the day. Hope the off season's treating you well. Bye for now.